In this video, I'm going to give you everything you need to know about the recently reworked KvK Season 1 map. Whether you are a brand new player experiencing this for the first time and need to know everything about how this KvK works, or you are a veteran who's just curious about what's changed, stick around in this video for everything there is to see. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and I have made one of the most watched KvK Season 1 and 2 guides, and this is a little bit of an update about the brand new KvK Season 1 map, and there is a lot that has changed. Now, I'm going to talk about the camp technology. I'm going to talk about the flow of the map and the Chronicles. I'm going to talk about the rewards as well. And if there's any specific thing you want to see, please do use the timestamps in the description to navigate to exactly the part that you are interested in. So let's start, as promised, with the technology. For your entire kingdom, I suppose theoretically your entire war camp, but there's technically only one kingdom in each corner of the map, you advance technology that enhances literally everybody in your kingdom for this one KvK only. So this tech goes away at the end of KvK, but don't worry, it's not like you're spending exactly to go and get this technology. The technology enhances a number of things, as you will later see in KvK Season 3. So this tech will be something that you'll see again, although the exact currency that's being used here is a little bit different than what you'll get in the future. There are gathering speed boosts, experience gain boosts, march speed. Also, AP recovery is super busted. There is attack for each troop type, and upwards of 20%. Also, an upwards of 20% defense for each troop type. Then there is an overall troop attack buff, upwards of 10%. This actually benefits all troop types. So, unlike the other ones where there are 4 different technologies, infantry, archers, cavalry, and siege, here this is actually benefiting all troop types. And then there is combustion, which is going to make it so that things burn faster. This is very important, and hardened to make it so that you have more building durability. As far as the prioritization, I think that whatever unit your kingdom is most interested in boosting for those initial fights and the later fights, that's where you would want to focus. Presumably, because it's KvK Season 1, that is either going to be infantry or archers, and you can see the kingdom I'm in here has prioritized infantry. And they've really put an emphasis on defense. Now, I don't know that that's necessary for KvK Season 1 to focus on defense over attack. In fact, I think you would probably want an even split in this case, depending on what commanders you're using, but that is perhaps an advanced topic. P.S. If you're enjoying this video, do me a huge favor, throw a like on here and consider subscribing to the channel. It supports the channel, and I have tons of other guides and videos designed to help newer players learn KvK and grow their account. You probably want to check them out. So subscribe so you can have them showing up in your daily feed. Let's get to the map itself, which is very different than what you're used to. Or if this is your first time playing KvK, I mean, it's definitely an exciting map. Now, this is the map overview that they give you in game, but what I want to do is zoom way in on all these zones and show you exactly how the map is going to flow. Then I'm going to show it to you in the actual map, sort of what's happening and what you're taking in each of these different stages. If this is your first time looking at a KvK map, this might look a little bit complicated. Don't worry, I've got your back here. We're going to walk you through this step by step. Everybody starts in the corners. There are 4 kingdoms in this particular flavor of KvK. Theoretically, they could double stack them, 2 kingdoms in each war camp, but I don't think they would ever do that. So you've got 1 kingdom in each corner. And this zone is yours. It will never be taken by the enemy. You're safe. It's not possible for the enemy to enter it. So do whatever you're going to do in there. The zone is nice and large, and I think that's because young kingdoms are generally very, very large, and you do need to be City Hall 16 in order to even enter into KvK Season 1, but that's very achievable. Now, the first fight that you will have is the first pass opening, which will be right over here. I'm marking these on the map, where you go and you battle over something called the Ancient Ruins. That is typically a 1-hour contention window, where if you have only your alliance's marches in the ruins, then you get control of it and you start getting honor for each player that is in the ruins. I'm going to talk about honor a little bit later on, so if that is something that's new to you, don't sweat it. We'll cover that in a little bit. So that's the first thing that will happen, is you can fight for those altars. That happens typically, I think, every day and a half or so that you have one of those battles. From there, you will then enter into this zone right over here, this big chunkin zone, okay? This is a zone that later can be contested by enemies, but initially is safe. So you will be able to enjoy whatever you want to do farming in this zone, and for a while, that's all you'll be doing. Chilling, farming, occasional fighting at the ancient ruins. From there, you get your first proper territory fight with a neighbor. I'll draw this in red to symbolize that like there really is a pretty meaningful fight that takes place here. The passes will open. These passes will open to the neighboring zones, and you will be able to battle your neighbors. So for this war camp, they can either fight over here or fight over here, or both, quite frankly. You'll have access to both directions. I'll show you on the map exactly where these passes are, but this is important because each of those zones is going to have three or four holy sites that you're going to want to capture for some extra buffs. If you don't get them, it's not the end of the world, but ideally, you're able to make your way into those zones and capture them. And if you're truly the strongest kingdom on the board, maybe you can go both directions, which seems pretty insane. But let's say you shoot the moon. Keep in mind that these are contentious zones, so even if you take them, that doesn't mean the enemy can't fight their way back in. And when these passes initially open, they are essentially semi-protected. So you can move out into the zone, right? And the enemy could move into the zone, but you can't move into their zone, and nor can they move into your Zone 6. These are, I guess it's technically a Zone 5. These are protected zones for now. They won't be for the entire KvK, okay? Now, from here, the passes will open into Kingsland. But the funny thing is that you will not be able to build into Kingsland. Kingsland is in the center. You want to get the ziggurat. The ziggurat is where the biggest end of KvK rewards are. But initially, no one can build anything into this zone. Literally no building. What instead you do is there are 4 altars of darkness. And you're going to fight over these altars of darkness periodically when they open to get some additional honor. Honor is something, again, I'll talk about in just a bit. And once those fights have been taking place for a number of days, actually, the rules will sort of change where suddenly now you can start to build territory into Kingsland. And that's a big moment. The Kingsland fight is really, really, really important. You're obviously going to want to win Kingsland, and any kingdom could take this thing, right? Now, these passes are still protected. They're one-way passes. So you can enter into Kingsland, but you can't enter into someone else's zone yet. The next thing that's going to happen is that you can start to invade other zones. So, for example, when these passes become unsealed, you will then be able to enter into a neighbor's zone and start to invade. This is where things get really interesting and exciting. Ideally, in your perfect world, you would make your way into this zone and take it. And also, weirdly enough, somewhere around this time frame, I might not have got the order exactly right, but there actually is a safe little area. You may have wondered, kind of like, what are these weird spots doing on the map? But there's keeps there, barbarian keeps that you can go and smash. So these will open, and they're safe for your kingdom. It's 100% safe. No one can get you there except your own kingdom is there. So you can enjoy some occasional extra rewards, which include some pattern pieces potentially, and also some epic material crates. We'll have to look at the exact rewards when we're on the map, and we can do that together. Now, the next thing that's going to happen in this KvK, and this is one of the final things that happens with regard to battling other enemies, is that you may recall that each of these passes that I was showing you earlier is semi-protected. So you can go one way through the pass, but not the other. So as an example, right, like you could enter through this pass and you can enter through this pass, but you can't go through into an enemy's zone. Well, that changes as the final rules for the sort of passes unfold in the KvK. You will be able to actually enter through these passes. They become unprotected. So theoretically, like there's just a ton of attack vectors for getting an overwhelming majority of the map, with the exception of enemy starting zones. That's the only thing that you really can't get to. Those are safe for the entire KvK. All right. So you've got your safe zones, but otherwise your objective with your kingdom is to charge on in, get a nice footing in both your starting zone and the first zone you get access to, ideally winning some ruins fights as you go. Then you get access to your neighboring zones, okay, which have some very important holy sites. You're going to want to get those if you can. Then you want to try to take Kingsland. Then you want to try to invade your neighbors' previously safe zones. But you can never get into the starting zones. So the starting zones all through here. This is a weird way of drawing it. But all those areas are pretty much safe, all right? So it's only this center area where you really can, zero cities and invade and get access. So to give you a real look at what exactly happens on the map here, on the map itself, I know it's a little bit harder to unpack because we can only, zoom out so much here, which is why I gave you that other view. But if we just get a look from this view, right, the first thing you do is you enter in your starting zone. You're going to build forts and then take these Crusader camps. Okay, this is a holy site that is going to give your alliances some extra gathering speed. From there, you're going to take the ruined Crusader fortress. Remember, you do have to have territory connected to these things, and not every alliance in your territory needs to be connected, just at least one, okay? You're going to take the RCF. You're going to rebuild that RCF through 3 stages. I mean, that's actually quite rewarding in terms of the goodies that they give to you. And here is that small ancient ruins battleground that I was talking about before, giving individual honor and alliance-based honor. Not every alliance can contest these things, but good news, you are bordering, I believe, 2 of these. Yep. So you're going to want to pack everybody into 2 alliances, your strongest fighters, and have them duke it out to try to get control of the ancient ruins. Now, as I mentioned, you're going to enter into this next safe zone. And once you're in here, you're going to take these holy sites. These are circles. Circles give you some pretty solid buffs, actually. City reinforcement capacity goes up 20%. Watchtower damage 20%. That one's actually the most worthless circle by far. If we get a look at another one of these circles, the buff over here is all damage 3%. That's insane. And rallied army capacity 10% on cities. That's also very strong. Over here, we've got counterattack damage taken boost of 10%. Actually, it's a counterattack damage taken reduction of 10%. An AP recovery of 20%. And if I'm not mistaken, there is inequality in these holy sites. I don't know why this is the case or why this is necessary, but let's see if that's true, actually. Maybe they've done, I think, actually, okay, good. I mean, I kind of wish there was a different circle here. The one I thought I was going to see, normally there's an sort of inequality per se in some of the other maps, is a holy site that increases your healing speed. But actually, no, that circle doesn't exist in this KvK, weirdly enough. Okay, so equal holy sites distributed across all the camps here. You move into, in this case, it would be Tahiti. From here, you have your fight in that contested zone that I was showing you before. This is where there are actually 4 holy sites. There are 3 Hurons, and these are very important. They give 5% stat boosts, which you ideally want to take these. We've got defense on this one. We've got attack over here. We've got a sanctum, or I guess sanctuary rather, over here that is giving you 10% march speed. And the other holy site over here, I think, is also 5% defense. There you go. So, I mean, theoretically, you could have a peaceful relationship with a neighbor. You could split the zone. You don't have to fight your neighbor here. But, ideally, you're kind of taking over tons of stuff. And I'll show you for the end rewards, that does end up being pretty important. So you have your battles or peaceful agreements to handle your neighbor zones over here. And the next thing that will happen is actually entering Kingsland, but not with territory. Only the pass opens and you just fight. You cannot build. From there, later on, I think it's about a week later, you get to then build territory into the zone, and that's when the big fight is. And it's very interesting. I mean, they have the 4 altars of darkness. You're very obviously intended here to take the altar of darkness nearest to you and to have some of your alliances try to contest neighboring altars of darkness, which I think is kind of cool. So you'll have to figure out who takes these passes. I guess you can only have 2 alliances fighting through here at a time. One alliance holds each pass, but you also could trade off who owns the pass, by having different alliances capture it and then move in a bunch of troops that way. There's a lot of strategies for that, right? From there, these level 7 passes become unsealed, which means these zones become invadable. And then from there, these level 6 passes become unsealed, which means you can theoretically go in a circle all the way around the map, even if you don't have Kingsland. And I might have missed the order ever so slightly because, weirdly enough, this is the area with the barbarian keeps that I was telling you about. And this opens up sometime after Kingsland. So very late in the KvK, they give you something else to do. And if we get a look here, these are level 30 barbarian keeps. Okay, similar to what we have seen before in other KvKs. The level of these things will increase every time that they're beaten. And they drop Dark Lord's Blessing and Delane's Amulet Fragments. That's probably the most important thing for the keep. But if you're really lucky, you get a Swindler to spawn. And the Swindler drops are a little bit different. They have Pendants of Eternal Night. But that's just an okay accessory anyways. Only whales, only true whales should be picking these up. You really, truly do not need them. In fact, there are probably better accessories you should just wait for with your materials for almost like 99% of players. You'll have to take my word on that. I've spent a lot of money on this game to figure that out. So trust me, the 5% skill damage pendant sounds really cool until you get the better stuff later on. So I would really save those for huge whales who are your rally leads and garrison captains, ideally. So now I've given you that overview of the map, and I do want to show you the sort of due diligence of the exact Chronicles and their sequence. Again, if this feels duplicative to you, then you can just skip to the next part, but this is important for people that are planning, so here you go. Here's the sequence of things. Crusader camps open after the first phase. After the next phase, the ruined Crusader fortress becomes capturable. Then, as I described, Pass 4 opens, and you can fight for the ancient ruins. Those ancient ruins will open about a day and a half later. Then the passes open to your next zone that have the circles. You'll then capture those circles. After you capture the circles, the pass is open to your neighbors, where you can go fight over some Herons, which will later become capturable, and also sanctuaries. Keep in mind that you can only have one of each buff for each alliance. So, for example, the same alliance could go take 2 sanctuaries, but you still only get 10% march speed, which is the buff that one sanctuary gives you. So you don't want to hog all the sanctuaries to one alliance. With Herons, you could have different Heron buffs if you have multiple Herons, but if you try to take 2 of the same 5% defense Heron, it's only going to give you 5% total, not 10%. So don't hog them, spread them around. From there, the pass opens to Kingsland, as I described, but you cannot build, weirdly enough. Then you fight over the Altar of Darkness for a couple rounds before then, and this is an important phase, the Kingsland restrictions are lifted, and now you can actually build territory into that land. From there, the Ziggurat will open. You capture the Zig, and that's really important. Big buffs and also big rewards at the end of the KvK. Then Pass 7 becomes unsealed. This is the invasion portion of the KvK. Mind where your city is. From there, Pass level 8 opens up, and this is where you now can go fight those barbarian keeps. Like, they're like, hey, whether or not you won the KvK, go enjoy some barbarian keeps for a little bit. And I mean, hey, I'd rather have them than not have them, right? Then Pass 6 becomes unsealed. As I described, you can now go in a circle all the way around the map. And weirdly enough, a couple of achievements at the end here, controlling 2 sanctuaries for your kingdom gives you 3 gold heads, okay? And if you control 6 circles, so that's both neighboring zones worth of circles, then you get 5 legendary commander sculptures. That's a kingdom-wide benefit. That's honestly a lot of legendary commander sculptures when you think about that at a kingdom scale. Now, as I mentioned, I would describe what honor is even used for. And honor really is just something you use for rewards, okay? At an individual level, if you have top 20 for honor in the KvK, you can unlock a legendary city theme, and it's a good one. Twilight Falls is solid. 5% skill damage, also 5% commander experience gain, and you lose 10% infantry attack. The other rewards here are fine, but it's really, truly all about the legendary city theme for the individual rank rewards. There also is alliance-based honor. These are rewards that we've seen previously for this flavor of KvK. So I don't know that I need to go too in-depth on this. These are the same as they have been in the past. And also the kingdom level rewards. Kingdom level honor is also rewarded here with a small number of gold keys, ranked 1 through 4. The way that you get honor and get those sage tokens to advance your kingdom's technology is by defeating barbarians, gathering at resource nodes, destroying barbarian forts, and presumably that's the bottom of this list. I can't actually scroll. I keep trying and it's not going anywhere. So those are the main things that you do, and presumably along the way, there will be some additional quests you can do in the War of Conquest section. Like you see here, gathering resources hooks you up with some of these sage coins, which you can then use on your technology for your camp. That is all located in the Power of Sages. There is a ranking here for how much alliances have contributed. I don't know that there's a reward for that actually, but it is certainly kind of interesting. The other rewards that you need to know about are in the Crusader Achievements section. Now, many of these will be familiar to you if you've played KvK before, but if you're new to this, you will get rewards for defeating barbarians. You will get rewards for participating in alliance buildings. So typically your alliance will drop what's called a one-troop flag. Everybody puts one troop in there. It takes a really long time to build, and you rack up a ton of these construction minutes. There is also a reward, for construction plus some number of sev wounds that you have inflicted on the enemy, 500,000. Now there is also individual honor rewards. This is typical for KvK. It looks like that goes up to 130,000 individual honor and 1 million kills. That is a very low number of kills for what it's worth. And that's definitely worth doing because 10 gold heads is actually pretty solid as a reward. Like minimal fighting plus a lot of activity on your part. Like you can't miss those ruins. You can't miss those altars. But if you do that, especially if you're on the winning side, you get some nice rewards there. Also killing enemy units, you get rewards at 500,000, 1.5 million, 5 million, 15 million, and 25 million. You get 10 gold heads, 2 legendary material crates. Now, I will say you don't have to get this, okay? That's going to be a big number for the smaller players, the newer players to the game. And for the people that are whaling, that might be more achievable. I don't know how much fighting there's actually going to be. And I said kills, but this is sev wounds or kills. You don't have to actually kill enemy troops. That's a way to rack up some points. The majority of this will actually be from sev wounds, not kills. Now, standing in the ancient ruins or altar of darkness for some amount of time also nets you some rewards. Gathering resources on the map nets you a small amount of additional resources. A little boost for something you were doing anyways. At an alliance level, when your alliance honor and individual honor exceeds certain amounts, there are rewards for you here. In addition, those rewards extend pretty far, by the way. We can get as much as 3 gold heads at the top end of this, which is pretty nice. 40,000 individual honors, very achievable. 3.5 million alliance honor is probably very achievable as well. This goes even higher. Wow. 7 million alliance honor and 1.5 million kills from other kingdoms, so sev wounds that you inflict. That's 7 gold heads and 1 legendary material crate. That's pretty nice. And 18 random epic cavalry blueprints. Okay. Occupying a Huron gives a reward as long as you have a certain amount of honor obtained. This is also true of circles and sanctuaries and the Zig. These are known as sort of touch rewards. So all you have to do is touch it once and be in the alliance at that time, and you can get the reward. You don't have to be there the moment it's captured, but you just need to be in an alliance that holds one. So often alliances will cycle players in to go and get those rewards and then, drop them out and cycle someone else in to pick up the reward. That way the whole kingdom can benefit. And at the end, last one standing, if you control the Zig, you get a star on your flag, which is, kind of cool for your alliance. And you get 50 Charlemagne sculptures, which is hilarious. So the end reward for this KvK is, I hate to say it, but basically irrelevant. Charlemagne is not a commander that you should be investing in. So the pro and con of this reward is it's not that big a deal if you win or lose KvK. I'm actually more worried for the health of your kingdom than I am about not getting this particular reward because it's just not all that important in the grand scheme of things. Now, if you control 3 Herons and at the end of event, okay, that's 5 legendary commander sculptures, 6 of them, and you get an additional 5 legendary commander sculptures. That's 2 zones worth of Herons. If you have 1 sanctuary, it's 10 legendary commander sculptures. Remember, this has to be your alliance that has this. And your alliance controls 3 sanctuaries. It's 15 legendary commander sculptures, 1 legendary material crate, 2 epic material crates. Really solid reward. If you control 1 circle at the end of the event, then you get 20 Charlemagne sculptures and a legendary material crate. If you control 4 circles, so that's your zone worth of circles plus 1 circle from an enemy zone, you get 30 Charlemagne sculptures, but at least there's also 2 equipment material crates here. And if you control 8 circles at the end of the event, you get an additional 50 Charlemagne sculptures, which is actually kind of nuts. So that's 3 legendary material crates on top of that. If you actually had your alliance do every single one of these, you got 50 plus 30 is 80 plus 20 is 100. You could get 150 Charlemagne sculptures, almost a Mightiest Governor worth of Charlemagne sculptures. The true bummer is that you don't want to use them either way. So GG. Enough sculptures to almost max the first 2 skills. And the last 2 skills honestly aren't all that important for open field. But really, I just don't think you should be using them for open field either way, okay? And then at a kingdom level, you get points or rewards if you have individual honor and kingdom level honor. So if I scroll through this really, really quickly and flash these rewards on the screen, I'll stop at the most attractive rewards here, which, if your kingdom holds the Zig at the end of the event, you get 5 legendary commander sculptures, 1 legendary and 1 epic material crate, and a random blue crate. Also, there are some gold key rewards for the other holy sites for your kingdom. If your kingdom has 1 sanctuary, you actually get a legendary material crate. That's pretty solid. If your kingdom controls a circle at the end of the event, you get 2 gold heads. It's actually pretty sick, man. 4 circles gives you 3 gold heads, and 8 circles gives the whole kingdom an additional 5 gold heads, 1 legendary material, and 1 epic material. Honestly, the rewards for this KvK, besides the Charlemagne sculptures, are super freaking legit. Like, super legit. They're really good. These are rewards that you want your kingdom to get, and at a kingdom level, it is a lot of gems worth of goodies if you win. If you win, or negotiate your way to glory. And in this flavor of KvK, they do have relentless warriors. Let me tell you, back in my day, when I did KvK Season 1, every troop that died was actually dead. But here, you actually can get some amount of your troops back. So 30% of your troops will just come back to you at the end of KvK, which is pretty awesome. And you can buy or be gifted special scrolls that will return an additional upwards of 10%. So you have the possibility of returning 10% additional troops back to your roster, and it'll show you what that exact breakdown ultimately is going to be. This KvK is pretty fresh. I think the whole thing lasts for like 48 or 49 days. And if we just get a quick look at the overall rules, these are similar to what you have seen before. If you've never done a KvK before, I will say that to build flags in KvK as an alliance, you need to get crystals. These are very, very important for your ability to actually build territory. All of this stuff we've seen, with the exception of Defender of Kingsland. So complete the Lost Kingdom Chronicles suppression. So Kingsland is not open for building until that particular stage of the Chronicles. Also, there is iconic equipment that becomes available. I'll show that to you in just a second so you can see exactly what you get there. The Crusader Fortress Camp, Sanctuary, yeah, all these holy sites we have seen in many KvKs before. Here is the limit on the commanders that you actually can use in this flavor of KvK. Esong and Richard I are here. I assume, by the way, that the second that they add the Egyptian commanders into the game, they also will be available here. And then the map overview as I showed you. The way that you can get those iconic crystals, which enhance legendary equipment, which most people in KvK Season 1 are not even thinking about, but you do want to get these and just hold on to them, is through the Artisan's Forge event series. And I've covered this way in depth. I'll have a card up in the top for that video so that you can go check that out. Also, I'm not City Hall level 16, but presumably when you enter Lost Canyon, there is a relatively cheap iconic crystal that should be available, as well as some legendary equipment that you can go and get the patterns for. That should absolutely be your priority as an unlock from Lost Canyon. If you are at all interested in forging that legendary equipment, it just doesn't get any cheaper or easier to get access to those blueprint fragments than from the Lost Canyon. The biggest thing you need to know if you're new to the game and entering this flavor of KvK is that you just need to make sure you don't get your city zeroed. And the way that you don't get your city zeroed is by being on your alliance territory and not being in contested zones when you're offline. And yeah, you could use a peace shield, and that protects your city for some number of hours. But I think the reality is that most people will probably mess this up. They'll end up getting zeroed because they're off territory, and just keep your city safe so you don't get zeroed. That's probably the best advice I can give you, and follow your alliance leadership, who will be giving you guidance that's far more specific about where to be and when. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor, throw a like on here and consider subscribing. And if you're looking for more information about KvK Season 1 and 2 and how you as an individual prepare to fight in that flavor of KvK, card will be up in the top for my detailed guide talking about how actually you prepare your account for battle rather than giving you an overview of the KvK, which is what we did here. Until next time, you have fun, smash in the kingdom, and leave a comment with any other questions that you have. And if you're an experienced player, go in and answer some of those comments to help out another governor.